Osade Adeniwa. Today, Spotlight is on an issue that affects everyone in Nigeria and that you cannot afford to miss. We are discussing Nigeria's new tax laws. On the 26th of June 2025, President Bola Tinubu signed 4 tax reform bills into law, making them the Tax Reform Acts. They are the Nigeria Revenue Service Act, the Joint Revenue Board Act, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, and the Nigeria Tax Act. The federal government says the new tax laws are not designed to raise taxes, but to support a structural reset, drive growth, and then drive harmonization and protect the dignity of the social contract. And my guest on the program today is Dr. Vincent Nwani. He is an economist and investment specialist. He's here with me in the studio to break these tax laws down and help us understand what they really are and what is expected of us as citizens and perhaps I should say the paying public. Dr. Nwani, good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. All right, so there are 4 new tax laws. 2 of them took effect June last year after they were signed into law, and 2 more took effect on the 1st of January, just a few days ago. So talk to us about these acts and, why they came to be.
All right. Even in your intro, you've already done justice to this question. The current administration, reputed for reforms. They are here again, and this time the boss, their boss stopped just stopped at the tax reforms, which, if you ask me, long overdue. According to the government, they say they want to make the tax law more dignifying, but, even from the scriptures, from the Holy Book, anytime human being hear tax, you get a bit jerked. It's about taking more of my money. But they've said that it's not about taking more money or increasing the tax rate, but making the tax more fairer, dignifying, and everything. So that is what the book says. That is what the book says. But
when you say that is what the book says, it appears there's something more you want to say.
Yeah, that is what the book says. But looking at the intricacies of this law, 4 laws, 2 took effect 6 months ago, especially the ones that changed the name and the rule of FRS now in Nigerian Revenue Service, and I'm not too used to acronyms, So, but these 2 ones, the 2 that just took effect a few days ago, 1st of January, is the main issue.
Yeah.
That, and if you ask me, the law just tried to bring in more people, more Nigerians into the tax net. We've been hearing for a long time that people that pay tax are very few, both corporates and individual. So for me, what this new tax law have done is to attempt to bring in more taxpayers into the tax net. That's one. Then the second one is also to see how they can use the tax principles to redistribute income. That's what they attempted to do. How much they're able to achieve these 2 objectives are just simplified. And these 2 objectives are to bring in more corporates, more individuals into the tax net, and 2, to protect the masses or the poor in the society. How much this new tax law will fulfill these 2 critical objectives remains to be seen. It remains to be seen to an extent that publicity, enlightenment is still, the government is trying, but you know how large Nigeria is and how informal, how fragmented the country is, and even the discussion about tax law. The head of Presidential Committee on Tax Reforms, Taiwo Edele, I'm not sure if he has even had any rest, throughout this holiday, moving from one group to the other, and I gave it to him. Yeah. To explain the intricacies of the tax and also to allay the fears of Nigerians and say, hey, there is no cause for alarm. It's good for everybody. It's good for the government and it's good for the country. I give it to him. But me as an analyst, as an individual, I give it to him. Me as an analyst, I continue to hold some of my reservations. And that is why I said, let's even see how we progress. But is the country due for tax reforms? Yes, we are due for tax reforms. We are far due for tax reforms, and I give it to this government. We know that reforms are difficult, it leads to some clashes and everything, but they've taken the bull by the horn, and I believe that being a listening government, maybe if we move a bit far and they see some issues some of us have been raising, and maybe they will come back and say, okay, hey, let's go back to the National Assembly and tweak some of the points we've been making.
All right. You spoke about the fact that you, as an individual, you give it, you know, to Mr. Tawede, Dr. Oyedele, but then as an analyst, you have your reservations. Are we able to talk about those reservations? Of
course, the reservations are out there. You know, ending of last year, for instance, ending of last year, we begin to hear that the law they want to implement, that's the one gazetted, was a bit different from the one that was passed by the National Assembly, you know. And if you ask me, up until now, that very issue have not been resolved. That very issue have not been resolved. And if you see a document, even if it's comma or full stop that was added or removed, that you know, that changes everything. You need to go back and you know and do it properly. We heard that issues around threshold of allowable, for instance, for MSMEs, what the National Assembly passed was minimum of 100 million per annum in turnover, you know, but what was gazetted, we are seeing 25 million, you know, and that brings in more MSMEs into it, you know. Just to give you an example, and some powers of the federal or Nigerian Revenue Service, you know, some powers, giving them power beyond just administrating the tax processes, or to the power of adjudication and the power, usurping the power of the court and everything. Some of these issues were raised, even by the lawmakers themselves, were canvassed. You know, that issue have not been resolved, and we're implementing this tax. And this is one of the areas that Nigerians are agitated about. We are also told that this law is meant to excuse the poor, So anybody that earns less than or equal to 800,000 naira is exempted from tax.
Yes, we're getting to that point, because this is what has really gotten people concerned. They want to know, what will I be paying? What do I have to earn for me to pay a certain percentage? So let's take it from there. We hear about 0 to 25% for those who are so, and then also help us differentiate, you know, from personal income tax to, you know, like company tax also. Let's break it down.
Okay, let me just go to company tax, because that is straight. Companies have been paying tax forever. For company income tax, they did not increase the tax rate.
So tell us
at all. It's 30%.
Okay.
And it is on profit. Throughout the year, you've transacted, you've made money, and you come up with your financial statement as a company. Any amount you declare as profit, not on turnover, you pay 30%. It's been 30%, and this government is even promising that they may consider reducing it or reversing it from 30 to 25%. You know, that remains to be seen, but nothing really changed for company. The only thing that would have changed, or that changed, is the threshold for MSMEs, small and medium enterprises, you know, that doesn't pay tax. Anything if their turnover is about 25 million and below, zero tax. You know, this tax law tried to increase the threshold, you know, to 100 million. You know, that's still been not too clear about the issue about arbitrariness in the gazetted version and the past version. You know, I believe the tax authorities have to ensure that it is 100 million. You know, so for companies it's very clear, and this is what we have seen before. This is what we've been practicing. I think the only thing that has also changed, not just for companies, for individuals and companies, is capital gains tax. Capital gains tax, you know, when you sell an asset, you know, any profit you make from selling that asset, you pay government certain taxes. This time is 30%, you know. It used to be 10% before. It's now 30%. You know, but the good news here is that if you sell your house or your car today, you know, and you make profit, government is not asking you to pay your 30% now as a company. What you just do is that you put in that money as part of your working capital. You know, it's treated as income. Then whenever you are paying your company income tax at the end of the year, if you are even giving 90 days or 6, you know, after the year to file your taxes and everything. So it's more or less the same thing. It's just the capital gains tax is a bit changed, you know, and for that capital gains tax, they also included some assets that were not there before, you know, the security, financial market securities, you know, the stock, you know, money market instrument board that were not there before, they are now there. You know, that's how that will affect the financial market remains to be seen. But I know that operators in that market are also trying to see how they can work around that. So by and large, the government needs money and they want to bring in more taxpayers into the web, and also ensure that the tax is fair and progressive. If you earn more, you pay more. If you earn less, you pay less. If you earn up at a particular level, you don't even pay anything. So for individuals, if you are earning income of up to 800,000 naira, minimum wage earners, which the tax committee have told us that there are many in Nigeria, they don't pay any tax. And you only pay tax on your income. Income you earn for working, not the money that was there, you know, loan. Gifted. You don't pay money on gifted, you know, loan, you know, your brother send you money from abroad. Money sent from abroad, diaspora remittances are not subject to tax, you know. So I use this opportunity to also beg Nigerians to pick this law, read it, because it affects everybody, to know exactly what is allowable and what is not allowable. And in 3 cases, you know, drug, you know, a lot of, about almost 200 items are exempted from tax. For instance, you know, pharmaceutical, medical, and the whole, I don't have them in my head here, but so many daily, very important goods and services have also been exempted. But when I look at that tax law again, it will be very difficult to even implement. Does FRS even have the capacity to implement and enforce this tax law? I guess they will probably focus on the high-ticket taxpayers, because it's quite enormous to be able to dissect. I heard they are going to use IT and web analytics. That's fine, but it will be difficult to implement this tax law because it's a bit more complex and more clumsy than what we used to have. My concern, and which is the biggest concern of Nigerians, is the trust deficit between government and Nigerians in terms of utilizing resources effectively, you know, and you know, to do what needed to be done. For instance, on May 29, 2023, we are told that, hey, once we remove fuel subsidy, we are going to unlock resources. These resources, we're going to use it to tie your road, light will be there, hospitals, schools. I'm sorry to say, Nigerians have not seen the benefit of removing the fuel subsidy.
Are there no efforts in that direction?
We're not talking about potential. Since I was born, I've been hearing about potentials of Nigeria, the resources, the money. It's not about effort here, it's outcome. We're dealing with outcome, because when fuel was when a fuel subsidy was removed, it is not effort from the public. Immediately we start buying fuel from 89, 100 and something to 1,000. Thank God it's now less than 1,000. We start paying immediately. So we need to see. It doesn't take so much time for government to buy electric buses and make it free. You know,
there were some initiatives, you know, at that beginning.
I'm not talking about initiatives. I'm talking about the actual impact on Nigerians. And I'm happy that this program is a calling program for people to share their own experience. You know, I as an individual and my ecosystem, it doesn't show that Nigerians have benefited. Nigerians, not government, have benefited from that removal of subsidy. You know, and that is like tax. You know, removing fuel subsidy is like tax. Some countries that have oil the way we have oil, I was in Qatar, they don't pay tax. And also the trust deficit is a problem for Nigerians. Remember that during this period too, energy reforms was done, where we created this electricity to band A, band B, band C, and the people in band A were told that you are going to get light for 20 hours. You know, we start paying from 66 naira per gig or something to 200 and something. I'm on band A. I can tell you I don't get light up to 4 hours a day where I stay.
But then when you talk about the benefits, you see that states are beginning to receive more, almost triple what they used to receive as a federal allocation.
I'm not talking, that is state. State is government. I'm talking about Nigerians.
State is also part of government, and this is meant to trickle down to residents of the individual states. And even with local government autonomy, ideally, these funds go to the local government, and then they also should implement certain projects, execute certain projects for their people, isn't it? Should we only always focus on government at the center?
Before this subsidy was removed, the stock of good roads in Nigeria was more than it is today. Before this subsidy was removed, the stock of light...
Are good roads more than they are now?
No, no.
You spoke about the fact that stocks of good roads.
Stocks of good roads are more better in 2023 more than they are now. I'm just trying to, we should separate outcome and output, or what I can call effort. Yes, government have initiatives.
What you said earlier might be a bit difficult to prove, because we hear about roads being fixed. For instance, you also hear about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, one project.
I used that road this morning.
As well as other. It's not completed, you know, right? And so it's in phases, I believe. And when the whole thing is completed, I believe that is when the full picture, the true picture, will be out there, don't you think?
I think so, but it would be nice to challenge callers to call and to give their own verdict. But like I said before, the major issue is trust deficit. How much is government going to convince Nigerians that when they now start paying this tax, that it will be used properly for their own benefit? That is just that. Once you sort out that, people will be ready to pay tax. Where I stay, with the transformer there, we bought it. The roads, we tied it. We are paying heavily for security every month. These are what government naturally should do at the level of the local government and state level But we are the ones doing it. And this story is one and the same all across the country, where individuals are the ones doing what government should do with their own money.
So, perhaps
so now we're paying tax. Are government going to start doing those things and do them well?
So perhaps the question then will be, so what does government intend to do with the taxes received?
Exactly. And we have been asking these questions. We've been asking this question. Okay, before the subsidy was removed too, the debt level of Nigeria is about 70, 80 trillion naira. Now it is 152. So we have borrowed almost 100% more.
Then the debt management office will tell you you've not borrowed beyond the threshold that you can cover, and which is the reason, government will tell you they have continued to do that to execute projects they believe are necessary for the people.
I completely, like I said in my intro, I support the tax reforms. It is long overdue. But what government need to manage is the trust deficit between government, the social contract between government and the citizens. It's quite low, probably non-existent.
Perception is quite a difficult thing. It's like when you already have a mindset about something. Don't you think it takes a really long time and a lot of effort to change it? Because already there's just a perception that, okay, this thing is blue, and for me to convince you otherwise that it's a different color would take a lot of efforts, big efforts.
Is it really about perception? It's not perception, because the person paying the tax continue to spend his or her own resources to continue to fix what government would have fixed better, If I'm providing security, you can know how far I can go. But when government does it, it will far, So it's not about perception. It's a fact out there that Nigerian government need to step up in terms of serving the masses properly. That is what we're trying to say. Government have what it takes to take their staff or whatever abroad for when they are sick. Their children are schooling abroad and whatever. Why the guys paying the tax are here in public schools without the right facility, teachers poorly trained. If since we removed the fuel subsidy 2023 till date, we've seen a complete change in the dynamics how government serve Nigerians. It will be an easy sell for government to, tax people. So I have been talking to people, and the major issue is, are they going to even use this money? They just want to take our money again. The way we talk, and begin to eat it.
But ordinarily, that is not people were paying taxes before now, right?
Yeah.
Whether as a personal income tax or as a company tax. People have been paying taxes. And like you mentioned earlier, it's just about getting more people into the tax net. Those who were on tax before now, bringing them on board and being able to differentiate, okay, what do you earn and what are you liable to pay? Isn't that?
I will tell you the truth. The Nigerians that were paying taxes before, they are very few. And even those few that were paying taxes, we are underpaying.
So it means that
this very tax reform,
right?
this very tax reform is targeted at making sure that more people pay, and the people that have been paying before pay pay their fair share. Yes, people have always been paying taxes, corporate individuals, but are they actually paying their fair share? That's an issue. That's an issue. Moreover, this very tax now is now bringing the poorest of the poor into the fold, bringing the MSMEs more into the fold, using technology and everything. So clearly, you will see people that are not holding government accountable before, holding government accountable and say, hey, yes, I'm paying. I'm paying. I've been paying before. Where is the dividend of my, what am I paying for? The road to my house, the road to this, the security, where is the security?
But there was a point we were trying to discuss earlier about the fact that we have 3 tiers of government. We have the federal government, we have the state government, we have the local government. And each of these levels of government actually have their function in the society. There are certain roads that are marked, they're on the executive list to be fixed by the federal government. You have those that states and local government should fix. So do you think, or don't you think there is perhaps over-concentration and reliance on the federal government such that we are not even doing the needful to call to order governments at the state levels and at the local level?
That's one of the awareness that need to be created. I don't know how local government and state governments have been escaping from almost all radar. And if you look at even the sharing formula of this revenue in the country, state government takes much more, over 50%, compared to what the federal is getting. So it's a conversation that needs to happen.
All right, we'll take that conversation from there. We understand Christian is reaching us from Ikoyi in Lagos. Christian, good morning and welcome to the program. Christian, you need to please turn off your TV set so we can talk.
Thank you to TVC and thank you for bringing my friend Vincent Nwani. This is Christian that you know far back. I want to encourage Nigerians on this new tax law, and I want to commend Mr. Vincent for his candid opinion and passions on these developments. And I want to also encourage our government to come out more open to Nigerians. Because, when we see our government more transparent, we Nigerians will be happy to key into all of the policies. I am one of those that believe that this country will sure grow to be the real giant we are. And I want to encourage everyone. And I want to thank TVC for putting up this. More people are being educated and, informed on this new laws. Of course, I'm a taxpayer, so I'm happy. And just to ask the government one favor, please be more open to Nigerians. And if there are things that needed to be cleared and made more open, there shouldn't be hesitation in doing that. And that way, everyone that is a Nigerian will be happy with these reforms. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian. Obviously, Christian is your friend.
I'm telling you, Christian, thank you very much and Happy New Year.
I'm talking about transparency.
As you can see, she just spoke for Nigerians. To be honest, everywhere in the world, people pay taxes. People pay taxes, and I support the tax law. But if there are issues about forgery or whatever, it has to be fixed. What we're trying to say here is that once we pay this tax, let government be responsible. We don't want to see our government living larger than life. You see the what is it called, convoy, more than 100 vehicles, for what? As we're squeezing ourselves, if government officials also squeeze themselves.
It's such a huge number you mentioned, though.
Well, but we see them, we're not, see, well, let's call a spade a spade. Our government overdo in terms of showing affluence when their subjects are being squeezed.
All right, Dr.
They have to
Nwani.
lead by example for once.
Live by example. Dr. Nwani, we need to take a break. And then when we come back, we'll open the phone lines, to receive calls. And hopefully also we can get some comments online. You can tag TVC News, tag Prof. Bosse, and we will take those comments, especially questions that have to do with the new tax laws in Nigeria, so that we all can better understand these laws and what is expected of us as citizens as we go on to implement the laws. Please stay with us, everyone. Signed on the 26th of June 2025 by President Bola Tinubu, all are now in effect, and Nigerians are asking questions. We are hoping to proffer solutions or answers now to those questions even as they arise. And my guest is here, Dr. Nwani. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so we're talking about the role of different levels of government, in this, the fact that enlightenment is necessary and that they shouldn't actually get off the radar because they also have a role to play. So let's move on that.
You are very correct. Before we even talking about that, now that we have a joint tax board, because this new tax law also deals with a joint tax board where whatever you pay, government have a way of dealing with it. So it's like a one-stop shop for payment of taxes, especially the personal income tax. And the question I'm asking is, the level of government that is more fond of collecting charges, arbitrary charges, fees and fine from corporates is still at the local government and state level. People that sell in the market, the Omonile, the what's it called, national road transport, all this money collecting from on the road and all sorts of, how is it going to be dealt with? This is even a major, because if you ask corporate organizations, they will tell you that it's not the capital gains tax or company income tax that is even their issue. It is the fact that when their truck is moving from Lagos to Calabar or from Lagos to Kano, they have to give up to 200, 300,000 naira in cash to the driver to sort all the police, custom, all the federal and state government agents all through.
Dr. Nwani, let's pause and hear from Yakubu, who is calling us from Dokpemu in Lagos. Yakubu, good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, my sister, and then good morning to our guest this morning. I Rini Yakub calling from Dokpemu here in Lagos. See, for me, this is my own personal opinion, though. I believe Nigerian citizens are very easy to govern because when we are talking about tax, Nigeria are ready to pay tax. But as your guest rightly said earlier, see, when the government want to remove the fuel subsidy, we were promising heaven and earth that all these subsidies that we are going to remove, we are going to feed the road, we are going to do that, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. I can tell you for free, man. Although there's some states that are exceptional, except one of them is Lagos here, because I can tell you for free, some streets here in Dokpemu, close to Ile Agege and thereabouts, there are some streets we never believed that it would be very tight. But today, all those streets are fit. But my sister, let me pay attention to some states very close to Lagos, indeed. One of them is Ogun State. I lost one of my brother's wives on the first month, early this year. A pregnant woman that we rushed to hospital. She was that's later person. And then let me even tell you this. There's a road that I know people that in Ivo know this road very well. Little Father Hospital. This road was never fixed. It has been promising, Ogun State government has been promising heaven and earth of this. So because when the subsidy will remove, the more money go to these governors. The question is this: who follow this money? Who question them? And then I can tell you for free, the local government autonomy, it has not been given to them. That is true. Because when we are saying that we have the 3 tier of government, the state collecting this money, where's the money that's supposed to go to the local government? It was not given to them, but they are just starting to pay the school, the teacher salary and some little money. They were not giving this money. But the civil society of this country that's supposed to follow this, they are undone for them. We don't see them. And then let me even shock you, man. with due respect, there is a senator representing that area. In fact, I will mention the name. In person of Senator Yayola Milekan, he came to that road. He promised them he's going to fix the Alaja road, and then he was planning to mobilize them. Guess what? After like 2 or 3 weeks, the Ogun State government come back to that street. They were not claiming that the road must not be fixed by the senator because it is their road. They are going to fix it. And then the Olamide Kaya hang up. And then the road remains the way it is. So what are we talking about? Especially Ogun State, I mentioned it. Because I just lost a woman so dear to my mind because of no oxygen in the hospital. He died with the pregnancy. And then the more money is given to, okay, now, tell me.
I hear you, Yakubu, and I understand your anger. I hear you, I understand your anger, I understand the frustration. It's about calling government to account, to do what they ought to do and to take responsibility. And that is what, you have just said. Also, about a lawmaker proposes a project, a constituency project. That issue actually exists where there could even be some well-spirited individuals or groups who maybe want to take on some project, and then they are told that government would handle the project, and so they back off, and then eventually you could find that that project lingers and it's not fixed in good time. So how do we address those issues, Dr. Nwani?
For me, government has a lot of work to do, and I believe, and sorry, the last caller over the loss of your loved one because of government inefficiency in Ogun State or something. See, we need to start holding government accountable in a better way. I don't know whether it is cowardice or we should, I don't know what it is, but now they are very aggressive in ensuring that we pay our fair share as citizens. Government should be ready to also be called to do its own fair share as our leader.
So there will be someone, following
exactly.
that money. The media does that. There are some civil
and we have to
make
it very clear to them that it is no longer business as usual. We exploit oil, and money from oil, we just, national what is it called? National cake. Now they're taking money from your pocket to run the government. And if they are taking money from your pocket to run the government, you have the right to ask questions.
All right.
And you deserve answers.
Ask questions, people will. I wanted to also speak to, what Yakub said about the state, of the road. Sometimes, in this case, he described 2 scenarios. One, bad road, that's good. There could also be other cases where the road is good, smooth, and people are overspeeding. That is another matter that has to be considered. So it's actually not in every case that an accident occurred as a result of bad road. So we need to be clear about that.
In fact, road safety came up with a report 3 years ago that they experienced more accidents
on smooth roads, like the Third Mainland Bridge, for instance, where people don't abide by the speedometer.
And that is true. You see what happened to our dear boxer the other day.
Yes,
the road there was quite smooth.
I just wanted us to put that in perspective. Now, back to these tax laws. Just before the year ended, we started hearing people saying all sorts. Please, when you want to send me that money, put community engagement, put community support, just try to put a narration. And then later we're hearing that it's not about narration. Money would not simply be taken from your account as tax. Tell us what you know about that.
Yes, like I said, the tax authority and the tax committee, Presidential Committee on Tax Reforms, have made it very clear that, one, they are not going to be taking money from people's account. A government, a bank, debit this person. No. There are processes. And this tax we are paying, you pay tax at the end of the year. You are not paying it, any income you receive, you pay tax on it. It's a structured process. That's one. 2, you pay tax on labor income. You know what you earn, not the money somebody dash you, or not the money that you loan. It has to be, not every money that hits your account is an income to you. So
how do you differentiate? How do the authorities differentiate that this money is actually not for a job you have done?
And that is why people have to start with what I can call personal leadership. Organize yourself. Organize yourself, and it's difficult to organize yourself from January to December. Your son is in the hospital, God forbid, and your uncle send you money to support you, please, for this, and it needs to be explained. It needs to be explained. A husband send money to the wife for food in the house. It needs to be explained. You are not going to pay, the wife is not going to pay tax for the money the husband sent to her to make her hair. You know, some of these things need to, and that is why I said enlightenment need to happen. But please start with personal organization to be able to stand before a tax authority and defend your income.
Okay, we have Akin calling from Ile-Ife. Akin, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much. The tax law we are talking about is only 6 days old. And we should allow it to work. We cannot lump what happened years ago with what is happening now. State governments receive more money now, and we can see some states doing very well. We all lump this thing with the federal government. It concerns every one of us. The state government has things to do. The local government has been given this opportunity to be independent now. We should not continue to say what happened years ago with what is happening now. This tax law is going to work, and it's only 6 days old. I was a civil servant, and I pay tax, and a large number of people who are poor pay tax. They are now not going to pay tax. So we should understand this very well. And we should not be misunderstood or misled by people who put politics into this. We should put politics away. This first subsidy was removed. The state governments are receiving multiplied by 300% of what they used to have, and some state governments are doing very, very well. And if the local government now also is given an opportunity to be independent, they will also work. In advanced country, nobody knows the federal government, nobody knows the state government. We know local government. And the local municipal government is the thing that will provide water, electricity, and roads. But in Nigeria, it's a different matter. So we should give an opportunity to what is happening now. Hold your state government, not the federal government, responsible for the money they take. And when the local government begins to function, we will hold them responsible. We always talk about the federal government. So I think we should not be misled. This law is only 6 days old. Let us allow it to work. Let us not put politics into it. We thank TVC for the good work you are doing. The Lord will continue to bless you.
Amen. Thank you very much, Akin, for your contribution. Yes, also to put in perspective, there are 4 laws. 2 took effect June last year. The remaining 2 took effect on the 1st of January this year. So back to our discussion about the fact that people need to be organized. You know, as an aside, perhaps on a lighter note, but really when these taxes also are not paid immediately, there is after that, at the end of the year, when you are then required to remit the tax, what if it has gone with the wind, as they say? I mean, perhaps it boils down to personal organization also, but how do we ensure that at the stipulated time when those taxes are actually meant to be paid, they will be paid? Perhaps that's the reason that companies will just deduct from source. Before your salary is paid, it is removed. Because when it gets into your account, there are things you want to do with it, and you might not individually want to go ahead to remit to government.
You know, that's why I mentioned before the last caller, I said personal leadership, personal organization. You just know that every income that hits you, depending on the tax bracket your income falls in, you know, from 15% if you're, you know, some 20, I think the highest is 25% if you're earning over 50 million, that's 25%. You know that this money doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the government. You know, and by and large, you may have also, you know, and that is why tax is very innovative. It's very, very, very innovative. During the year, you may have also done few things that even will lead to tax credit to you. You never can tell. But what me I have done, I need to sanity is to begin to organize yourself from day one. Personal, you know, you don't just live your life so roughly so that by November you can't even remember what happened in January. You know, get some. We all have phones or whatever to be able to organize our income and expenses, so that, because at the end of the day we need to pay that tax. And your point is by December or by early next year when we're supposed to pay tax for 2026, and there is no money in our account then.
How would it be handled?
Well, tax authorities know how to handle that. You'll be in tax debit. You'll be in tax debit. Maybe at that point, any income that now enter your account, you use it to offset offset whatever you're owing the tax authority. I don't know, but the tax authorities need to look at that, because even in abroad, sometimes you might be owing government and you pay that over time.
So talking about personal leadership, share with us practical tips on how people can monitor their finance, monitor such that they are not flouting, government laws in this regard.
Exactly. For me, and it's very easy for companies, because companies at least have accountants and whatever, to keep their record, because it's not just tax that they pay. They need to render stewardship to their stakeholders, their creditors and whatever. So it's easy for companies, to keep record. Nobody, but for individuals, at least keep record of your income and what that income is meant to be. When you receive money from your sister abroad, there's money from abroad. At least the person that give you that money have paid tax. So any income somebody send you from abroad is not subject to tax.
Here in Nigeria.
Exactly. Because the person that made that money over there have already paid tax. When you take a loan, note that this is a loan, it's not an income to you. But when you maybe receive an income that you work for, you know that you are paying tax for that. So people are beginning to explain, even the explanation, the narration, when people are sending you money, is not even enough now, but you need to organize yourself. And in the phone we use, there are notepad there. There are notepad. If you cannot keep track of your expenses, keep track of your income and where they are coming from. That's the minimum you can do in this at this point, especially when you know that your income is going to be more than 800,000. There are people that work and they're 70,000 naira they receive every month, but there are other supplementary income here and there. Take note of that. For your income, you need to be able to explain where it came from and what's the purpose. Very, very important, because that is what they are going to charge you tax on, not the expenses you're making.
And I think it's also time for employees to be clear with their employers. Is tax being paid on my salary? So I know that what comes into my account is mine.
Yeah, but that will be easy, because government can hold the employer accountable. That is quite easy.
Because I believe that for most...
if your employer is not paying your tax and is deducting it, of course, you just report that employer to the tax authority. And
that's the reason it's also become important to have one's tax identification number.
Exactly.
And how easy is it getting that?
The tax identification number now is our NIN, national, according to the clarification we got from the executive chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Service. It's now which makes it very, very easy. Before now, it used to be a unique number that we get from the states where we are, but now it's a national identification number, so that makes it easy. And that connects to our bank. It connects to everything we do, our international passport, our driving license, everything we do. That unique number is quite innovative and it's commendable.
So now we're beginning to get to that point where there is a single ID that can serve all purposes.
Everything. Even for children, writing WAEC, writing junior school, all of them now use national. So those people that came up with that idea, of course, we used this opportunity to commend them. Like your last caller said, this tax regime is just 6 days. But it's always good to sound what? Alarm. And we've been promised that if there are issues that need to be amended at the end of 1 year, it will be amended. Some of these tax rates will be revised lower.
All right, let's hear from another caller. Yeah. George is calling from Ikeja, Lagos. George, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Your guest said a couple of things that attracted my attention. One, he said the subsidy remover, the money that is coming from subsidy remover, it is only the government that is gaining from it, and that Nigerians are not gaining from it. He also said that in countries that have the kind of resources we have in Nigeria, people do not pay tax.
Yeah.
And during your intro, I understand this is a tax expert. You asked him a question on explaining some of the features of the tax law. He didn't answer any of those things. I am concerned because it should not be a medium misinforming people in this country. It's the only station that is standing right now. The fuel subsidy, the gains of the fuel subsidy is being shared by federal, state, and local governments. And we have seen some state governments that are taking 4 times what we were taking before. Is it possible? Look, in this our country, do you know the number of people that are using private jets? They use airports. They use our airspace. Who maintains those things? A tax. And the details of these tax laws, I noticed that most people who are criticizing it have not even read it, have not even known what they contain. So I expected the speaker to enlighten people if he knows about it, rather than a flat condemnation, if it's not proper to do so. People pay tax. If the government is not doing well, I'm not here to say the government is 100% doing well, no. But performance deficit in governance, you can point it out. The citizens have a right to do that. But for you to say that the of fuel subsidy is not correct. Where is the government getting money to train? Over 1 million students are in federal universities now that are benefiting from free tuition and free maintenance. Where is that money coming from? It's because the fuel subsidy money that the government is getting, that is happening. The road that the speaker took to get to your studio, who comes, is even not with money? The very best that we expect. But the little that is being done should be appreciated. It's not TVC to do any blackmail. Good morning.
Good morning, George. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Well,
with
he didn't
us.
share his thoughts, he just attacks me. Probably he did not listen properly to, when you spoke, I said that the tax reform is long overdue. And I support it. But the level of social contract, trust on social contract between citizens and individuals need to be fixed, and that is trust, where government uses the resources available to them properly. He was expecting me to educate Nigerians on the provisions of the tax law, which I've done partially, when I explained the personal income tax and all those things, So we are saying the whole thing, but he has his own personal reservation. But what I'm trying to tell you is, if you have not read the tax law, you read the tax law. My job here is not to lecture anybody on the tax law, but just the provision. Why we are here is just to continue to put pressure on government to do the right thing. Yeah, they are trying. I said in the intro that some countries that have resources the way we have are not even looking at tax because they've used their resources optimally. Qatar is there for everybody to see. Bahrain is there. During this period of removal of fuel subsidy too, you cannot tell me that all the promise or 30% of the promise made was kept. Over the last 3 years...
You've given, a statistic that might not be proven. Are you able to prove that 30% of the promises made have not been...
At the state level, at the federal level, 30% of the promise made that this fuel subsidy, but immediately we remove it, our reserve will go high, our exchange rate and everything, And some of we fix this road, national hospitals and everything. We're still where we are.
But are those things not meant to be in stages and phases? Would it be a sudden change?
After 2 years or 3 years? After 2 years or 3 years. See,
is that an improvement in the reserve already?
Where we're here is not about the first, but we're learning from, once bitten, twice shy. That's what we're saying. Now we're paying tax. And I support that we pay tax because if you're not paying tax, how do you hold your government accountable? How do you hold your government accountable? You need to pay tax. I support the tax payment. But speaking on behalf of Nigerians, and some of the callers have said it, that they don't have problem paying tax. What they have problem is government being more responsible physically. That's all.
All right.
Especially at the state level that collects more of this revenue. Over 50% of the revenue goes to the states across this country. As the money is coming, you see the affluent and the way they run their lives change positively. But the states are still where they are. And development at the subnational level is what actually hit Nigerians, not even at the federal level. Because federal level is more about policy and security. Do you understand? But the local government, the state level is where development comes from. And how many states are doing that? Even the federal government itself, the presidency have called on the states on several occasions to please do what they needed to do. So this is also a call for Nigerians to hold their states accountable. Why we are holding every time we are holding the federal government accountable, because they are more visible, they are more transparent.
All right, then. So holding government accountable such that the taxes that people pay are used to make life better for them. Let's see if we're able to get any more calls, even as we plan to wrap up the show today, talking about the tax laws. They are now in effect, and as Dr. Nwani has advised, it's time for personal, individual leadership and organization. Put your things right. He has suggested having your mobile phone and trying to make a list of income,
at least your
revenue,
income, yeah.
And then a list of expenditure, be able to account for everything.
Especially your income. Income is not always there. If you look at your bank statement, you will see 100 debits and maybe 1 or 2, 3 credits. So it's easier to track income, very easy than the expenses.
All right. And then I also wanted to talk about the fact that, yes, N is now the tax ID based on government pronouncement, but then also how easy is it to now get NIN? Because at some point,